Hey folks, welcome to the first episode of Coffee Time with J.M. Shearer. Um, this is kind of a baseline episode, really. I'm just gonna sit here and try to sum up what I'll be doing, what I'm gonna try to do with this, particular vlog series. Where I, came from, in this regard and all of that. And then like show a few things that are, um, excuse me, basically talk about, you know, uh, few ideas, that kind of stuff, whatever I've got going on. And, if there's, a specialty coffee involved, I'll probably be talking about that at the beginning of the show. Just gonna, yeah, it's just pretty much now. But like I said, this is pretty much a baseline kind of thing. So I'm just going to be starting out with the very basic stuff here. So tonight's or the episode for the coffee for this episode, and actually quite a lot of episodes I suspect is going to be basically the Hy-Vee Classic, medium blend, which is, pretty much the grocery store brand where I, get my groceries. Or if I'm feeling especially, I guess frugal would be the word for it when it's time to get more coffee. They have this, I don't know if it's a national generic brand or just a local or regional one here called, that's smart. That's just also a classic blend medium roast. But I mean, this is like $3 for a 10-ounce can, and this is like 3 times as much for like 6. So I'm not really sure which is the better deal. I'm kind of terrible at math like that. So anyway, which kind of shows, but it's I suspect it's about the same price either way, but depends on what kind of mindset I'm in. But since I'm actually using this can here, I got my 3 scoops of coffee grounds in here. Um, looks fairly average for your typical modern uh, ground coffee blend. Back when I originally intended to start this, I had a can of this that's smart stuff that I was using, but it had like a bunch of, I don't know, schmutz or like obvious filler or something in there that that didn't really seem to affect the coffee, as far as I could tell. But then regular real life set in, and by the time all that got taken care of, it was we'd been through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and here we are, January 10th already. Um, and this actually, it's well, it shows up a lot darker on camera. It's this is pretty much the dark set, or the strong brew setting on my Mr. Coffee coffee pot. It comes out pretty good, usually, I think. But it's just standard issue, coffee, that kind of thing. Um, so, with that out of the way, this is like part of the, thing where I, just sit here, have a cup of coffee, and, pretty much just, yammer on about, whatever's on my mind. Sit here and flap my gums at the camera, and well, in this case, it's gonna go up on YouTube for whoever wants to watch and listen. Um, this is one of those things where might not seem like it, but I've actually been doing things like this for, oh hell, probably close to 10 years by this point. I actually started out, sometime 2009, 2010, something like that, or maybe even before that, because, it was like not long after, maybe a year, maybe two after I moved into this apartment, and that was 2006. But I started off on a streaming service called Ustream, which was like pretty much, one of the first services that let regular civilians like myself do consumer grade streaming video, that kind of stuff. Um, and you could go on and like do recorded shows or entirely live stuff. Just kind of what I'm doing here, just carrying on about whatever was on my mind. And what inspired me to do that was this this other Ustream show that I'd come across called Zipperfish Live, which had been going on for quite some time. The host was a guy that called himself the Walrus, um, who has since moved on to other stuff. I think he does web design full time now, but it's one of those things where I never did it as consistently or as well as he did. In part because, well, I'm self conscious about some things, and I obviously have good reason to be, I think. It's not so much that I don't think I have the talent, it's, I do. It's just, kind of hard to, get it out, that kind of thing. Um, so, yeah, there's kind of little history there. I'll probably get into more of that as it comes up. I'm actually not saying everything right now for several reasons. One of which is that I'm actually going to want to have other things to talk about later on. That said, I mean, and well, see, I mentioned Ustream. For a while, I actually used an audio only service called Mixler, which was, I'm kind of glad they're free to broadcast. Version of that didn't last as long as the Ustream variety did, because well, if you wanted to broadcast on Mixler, the default was pretty much you had to record, and if you didn't want to record, you had to specifically opt out. Right when you started your thing. Whereas with Ustream, if you wanted to record, you had to hit the record button. It's not so much that I think I'm better at video or anything. It's just, I don't, there are times when I, kind of like to do this, without necessarily recording, which is actually, Something that I must admit makes this YouTube, as a platform like this a little more dangerous because, not only do I have to record, unlike on Ustream and Mixler, I actually have an audience here, which I didn't necessarily have before, which is, kind of a blessing and a boon. A blessing because there's actually going to be people who, hear and, all that and hear and see what I, say and do here, which, will kind of help with some things and make some things worse. But, because really I have actually a couple episodes out from here planned. And some of those things are, things I, might regret, saying in such a public way, after I do it. But, it's one of those things where, that's something I'll have to regret later. Now, I know it's possible, to do live on YouTube, which is something I've actually been considering, learning how to do for a while now anyway, just for the sake of it, because I'm not sure. Yeah, well, actually, I am pretty sure it's something you don't necessarily have to record because there are, a few live channels I watch that are on live 24/7, and only a few select hours out of every few days are recorded. But that said, that's like some of the other things I want to talk about. I'll get to those later. Probably after I've talked with people I actually know face to face. In more secure settings. Um, and I'll have plenty of things to regret talking about. In the meantime, but like I was saying when I originally announced this, I also have special mugs that I'll probably be showing off that maybe kind of relate to whatever topic I'm going to be talking about if I have one. Excuse me. But anyway, I suppose I better wrap this up because I've got other things I kind of need to get done tonight. So anyway, we'll get to future episodes and topics on this later on. Haven't decided if I want to do this on Thursday nights because most of my other plans don't happen until after 9, or if I want to go with my original plan and do it Tuesday nights because I have Wednesday off. But I'll probably settle this all up going forward because that's kind of how I've got all this set up. It's all tentative right now. And plus I have at least one more JM tries planned, and up to, well, I'm going to say 5 more, just because there's stuff I've been hanging on to for longer than I probably should have. But we'll get to those, soon enough because, well, I don't know if it, well, actually, it doesn't really seem to show in the camera because, my beverage is so dark here, but, I'm probably going to want to get this cleaned up a little bit, and, which is something I actually need a dishwasher for, before I get to my fancy stuff that I usually do in the JM tries. So it's sure coming up, but if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna probably want to make a bigger mess of old jelly jar mug here before I get to that. But anyway, I suppose I'll just see you hopefully next week sometime with another one of these, which I will probably wind up regretting a little more than this one. But until next time, I'll see you when I see you. Have a good week or two, everybody. Good night.